Welcome to Personnel Matters, the official podcast of the Air Force Personnel Center. Hosted by Major General Jefferson O'Donnell.
Welcome to Personnel Matters. I am Major General Jefferson O'Donnell, Commander of AFPC and your podcast host. I'd like to also welcome back your Air Force's Personnel Center Executive Director, Ms. Kimberly Toney, and AFPC Command Chief, Chief Master Sergeant Edwin Ludwigsen. Welcome, Ms. Toney and Chief Lud.
Thank you, General. It's great to be here.
Sure, I'm glad to have everybody back.
Today's podcast is a special edition, so we're going to jump right into it. The past few weeks were filled with uncertainty. Many of our civilian workforce were furloughed, while others were requested to work on essential programs without pay. This was a big ask for everyone, to include family members. Our Department of Air Force senior leaders have since provided their gratitude and appreciation for all the work that's been done for those that were brought back in, either full-time or part-time. But we also want to thank every airman for their support and guardian, and welcome back our civilian teammates across the Department of the Air Force. We're glad to be back together.
Yes, sir. It's super to see everybody's smiles here, but to know that our civilian family are back across the Department of the Air Force. Our civilians are so critical as they play a part that partners with our military personnel to deliver our mission for airmen, guardians, and their families. Having us all back together really reminds us of how important we are to each other and to our Department of the Air Force.
You know, Ms. Toney, that's right. It is really nice to have our teammates back. But one of the things that I want to highlight that really was special to me throughout was, we had a lot of accepted folks working. We had military folks working, picking up and making sure that they could continue to deliver, for our airmen and guardians out there across the Air Force. And so it was really cool to just watch how they not only took care of each other internally, but really continued to find ways to execute the mission. It was nice to see.
Absolutely, Chief. Yep, Ms. Toney. And, like many of you out there, we operated for 43 days. It was a record, not one we want to set again, but with it, it was an essential and vital part of our AFPC missing during that time. So, for us alone, we're over 2,000 strong, and over 50% of our family is civilian. And so, as expected, some of the functions and processes were put on hold, which led to backlogs. And as we return to normal operations now, post-shutdown, we are actively prioritizing the list of effective programs with updated timelines. So we're going to go through those and just kind of talk about some of the biggest ones. It won't cover all of them. Separation and retirement orders. All retirement and separation orders continue to require an approved exception to policy. Now, all previously approved voluntary separations in November were automatically extended 60 days, and the affected members received that targeted messaging, so they're aware. Additionally, retirement date change requests are reviewed on a case-by-case basis. We continue to posture separation orders for authentication about 60 to 120 days prior to your date of separation. All other actions, drafting orders, reviewing cases, CMS cases, MyFSS, etc., remain uninterrupted.
Sir, on top of that, for civilian retirements, this is a record-setting year for the number of retirements that we have had. And this is mainly due to the DRP program and the many individuals that have volunteered to retire between 30 September and the end of December. Today, we have approximately 2,400 retirement applications remaining for calendar year 25, which is ended the 30 September, few in September, some in October. And then for November, we have 2,300 plus for November and December. It is a very large number, and our team was accepted during the furlough, and they were in here every day processing those retirement applications to support you in your retirement dates. So we'll continue to monitor them and then get ready to close out the year. A typical December is only about 300, so to have still a couple of thousand in the queue, our teammates will continue to work really hard to close those out.
Yeah, that's excellent. And we got to visit our teammates that were working on those and in contact with the civilian personnel officers. And again, thanks to everyone out there in the field around the world who were accepted and brought in to be able to work with our team on all of these parts and pieces. For our assignments orders and other related programs, all the Air Force orders were authenticated on a case-by-case basis during the shutdown or with an exception to policy. The approved accepted activity we had already, we could just do without requesting, was technical training, sessions, and OTS and WATS. All amendments, Space Force orders processing remained uninterrupted. And members can expect PCS orders no later than 60 days prior to their required departure date. So just make sure that you're doing your actions to be able to get those in the system so that the MPF can load those so we can get those orders authenticated and out to you no later than 60 days.
Yes, sir. For civilian hiring, we also continued our staffing operations. We actually processed more than 2,000 personnel actions, onboarded 150 employees across the DAF, and extended 10 job offers to meet the SecWar priorities. These included many of the hiring actions that we had for child development centers, youth centers, and those accepted activities that we really just could not put on pause. And some of these were especially niche that we needed very highly talented and qualified personnel. So we worked with our civilian talent acquisition team, and they worked limited recruitment actions for the accepted positions. And some of these included 10 mission-critical cyber-related positions at 4 different locations. So that's definitely an engine you don't want to stop. And as we start, again, hiring, we're going to need the partnership of our CPSs out in the field.
I tell you what, the civilian talent acquisition team, they always amaze me with the work that they do and the talent that they can find for our Air Force. So I'm glad that we were able to keep that going. A couple updates I'd like to share with it's got to do with promotion boards, evaluations, talk maybe a little military tuition assistance. But I'll set the scene first. First thing I need folks to understand is that during the furlough, promotion boards for enlisted were not an accepted activity. So because it wasn't an accepted activity, we could not do enlisted promotion boards, so that delayed some things. And then even if we could have done the boards, I think another thing that we'd have to think through is a lot of our civilian supervisors were furloughed, so they wouldn't have been available to even sign the reports. So we have to do things a little bit differently, and the big one was we had to move the Chief Master Sergeant promotion board. So that board was supposed to happen in mid-October. We punted it to December. Now that we're back open, that board is scheduled to convene the 10th through the 18th of December. And because of that, we have moved the file freeze, and we've changed the file freeze date to 4 December. So no fret. You can still push records in. You can still do the things you need to do. Make sure you get out there, review your stuff, get your records in. If you get it to us by 4 December, we will make sure that it meets the board. We anticipate releasing the promotion for our Chief Master Sergeants the first week of January. So that first full week that we come back, we think that we'll be sharing some good news with some newly selected Chief Master Sergeants. And if you are one of them selected, even though you'll be getting notified into mid-January there, don't worry. If you were supposed to increment in January, you will still be backdated and backpaid to the beginning of that month. On the supplemental side, there was a supplemental board that happened right before the shutdown. So the Charlie board, it did happen, but then we couldn't release because the folks that were supposed to release that information weren't here anymore. So we will release that. The supplemental Charlie board results will go out to senior raters, and then on the 20th of November, it'll be public release. And then we're also scheduling the November cycle board will happen here later on next month. And then we should be releasing that to the public around the 18th of December. So those boards are up and going again, and we're getting things back on track. Military tuition assistance, this was a little bit up and down during the furlough, but we were able to secure some dollars for that and able to continue military tuition assistance throughout the shutdown. But we want to make sure that folks continue to coordinate your approvals, and we'll get them up there. But we should be able to continue to execute tuition assistance through FY26.
Thanks, Chief. And actually, I want to add a note to that I saw this morning. Just a reminder, there may have been situations where military members paid out of pocket to be able to continue their educations because the military wasn't flowing at the beginning of the furlough. And just as a reminder, the reimbursement process requires the educational institution, the university, to invoice the government. And so if you did pay that, work with the bursar's office and figure out how they can get them to then invoice the government so that you can get that reimbursed properly. And I appreciate your patience with that.
Great input, boss. Thank you.
Speaking of tuition assistance, I'd also like to cover a little bit for our civilians. The fiscal year 26 civilian tuition assistance TA is back on track. Payments for previously approved fiscal year 25 civilian tuition assistance for courses starting prior to the shutdown are now being reconciled. So if you have any questions or concerns, or your institution of learning did not bill the government and they billed you, please reach out and we'll work together to make sure that they bill us and you are relieved of any of that payment. In addition to that, civilian pay. DFAS has sent notifications to all civilians, letting them know that the current CR extends funding for most civilian agencies through January 30th, 2026. And this includes the back pay for federal employees. Members, please take time that once you do see the pay back in your account to pull that up to make sure that it accurately reflects what you should be paid. We want to make sure, as you go through the many different pay transactions, it's one lump sum. But we are seeing that for some reason it did not pay out for dental and one other particular area. So make sure you go through that. There will be catch-up opportunities for that, but let's make sure that we got you paid appropriately.
Thanks, Ms. Toney. Thanks, Chief. Something just to add that we did here, and hopefully you're all doing, and things we saw across the Air Force and Space Force is, hopefully this was a learning time as well for you. I know we're going to get right back into execution, and there are backlogs, but don't miss the opportunity to get some lessons identified from this time, because certainly we want to learn, and should it happen again in the future, we have those lessons for whoever, if it's not us, those who come after us, to be able to do it better. There was a lot of good things going on across the Air Force that people can share that can hopefully help to be able to make this a little bit smoother next time for those things, should we have an extended shutdown. Now, these topics that we've talked about today aren't all inclusive. However, they highlight some of the biggest rocks we are aggressively addressing to deliver talent management and care solutions worldwide to our world's greatest airmen and guardians. So as we return to normal operations, we will also resume our regular Personnel Matters podcast scheduled starting next week. Tune in for a discussion about an essential component of our total force, the Air National Guard. As always, if you have a question or issue you would like us to address, look for our contact information in the comments. From your Air Force's Personnel Center, where our mission is people first, I'm General O'Donnell. Thank you for listening.
We hope you found this episode informative and helpful in taking charge of your career. Be sure to subscribe on Divots and visit our AFPC website for more resources. Have a question or topic suggestion? Reach out to us. Links to the sites and services presented in this episode of Personnel Matters, along with our website and email address, are on the podcast page. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.